How's it going, everyone? Another top 30 visit for the Packers. So this one is wide receiver out of Maryland and Tai Felton. So Tai Felton is currently the 17th best ranked wide receiver in this year's draft on the consensus draft board and 142nd ranked overall. For his RAS score, he had a score of 9.61, so a pretty high RAS score. Comes in at a height of 6'1" and 183 pounds, so a little bit on the thinner side. Had a vertical jump of 39.5 and a broad jump of 10 feet and 10 inches and a 40-yard dash of 4.37. A lot faster than scouts initially kind of thought he would run on his 40. They kind of pegged him at like the higher end of the 4.4s or the lower end of the 4.5s, but blew them away with a 4.37. And if we're to look at all the 40-yard times ran at the NFL Combine, that would put him tied for 6th best out of all the wide receivers with the 4.37, with Matthew Golden being the highest at 4.29. For his time at college, he spent all 4 years at Maryland. In his first year, only played in 8 games, had 5 receptions, 51 yards, and then in the second year, 13 games played, 23 receptions, and 309 yards. Both of those seasons, he was not a starter. In the third year, was a starter for the first time, played in 13 games, had 48 receptions, 723 yards, and 6 touchdowns. And in his final year, played in 12 games, had 96 total receptions, 1,124 receiving yards, and 9 touchdowns. And over on the PFF side for his grades, he was targeted 143 times. Had an offensive grade of 78, receiving grade of 80.2, a drop grade of 71.9, which is a little higher than I thought it would be, but he was targeted 143 times. So he was accounted with 8 total drops in his final season. He had questionable hands from some scouts and had a contested catch rate of 38.9. So a kind of low percentage, isn't very good on the contested catches, and is more seen as, I believe a third of his catches actually were screens, but is more of a rack player in what they played with Maryland. Now, this could account because I've heard from some Maryland alumni fans in that their quarterback was not the greatest, so he actually did the best he could out of what he was working with. But at the end of the day, he was accounted with 8 drops and had a contested catch percentage of 38.9. But mainly was more of a rack receiver. And as for his run blocking grades over the 4 years, started off very well at a 74.3, then kept falling, 53.6 in the second year, 49.8 in his third year, and lastly in his final year, 41.9 grade block in the run block. So not great. Matt LaFleur requires his receivers to run block, so I'm not sure if that's going to be a big detriment to him. So what are some of the pros for Tai Felton? He has elite time speed, shows up on the tape. Crafty separator who sells his breaks with exceptional head and shoulder fakes that leaves corners flat-footed in man coverage. Displays exceptional spatial awareness, working the sideline, routinely getting both feet down where lesser receivers drift out of bounds. Changes gears masterfully mid-route, lulling defenders to sleep before exploding into his breaks on intermediate concepts. Shows uncanny knack for finding soft spots in zone coverage, presenting quarterbacks with clean throwing windows between defenders. Creates additional yardage after catch with surprising contact bounce and creative angles to slip through tackle attempts despite modest frame. Thrives on timing routes where precision matters more than raw physical tools, particularly on comeback and option routes. Consistently wins inside leverage on slant patterns with subtle shoulder dips that generate instant separation at the snap, and demonstrates thorough understanding of defensive leverage, adjusting route stems to exploit cornerback positioning rather than running into coverage. And now for some of the weaknesses or cons for him. Build lacks ideal thickness throughout frame, allowing physical corners to disrupt timing by redirecting him early in routes. Struggles to consistently win through contact on contested catches where size limitations become apparent against longer defenders. Blocking effort fluctuates drive to drive, lacking the play strength to sustain engagement against larger defensive backs and linebackers. And late career production spike raises questions about sustainability of success against consistently higher caliber competition at the next level. And so at the end of the day, he is going to be a day 3 pick, most likely. Projected to kind of go in round 4, could slip to round 5, so a later round pick or a later draft pick. And what you kind of get out of him from what I've seen, definitely yard after the catch, can make defenders miss, can catch over the middle pretty well. I think he takes hits pretty well and makes defenders miss pretty well as well. It's just more of those like high point or deep balls where he kind of struggles. And it looks like he's definitely a zone beater. Definitely seemed to have struggled in the man-to-man portions from what I've seen, but during zone coverage is able to find the weak spots and all that and adjust accordingly and pretty much find the open spot, which is very good in a zone coverage sense. Now, as for his fit for the Packers, it's a little weird. It's kind of hard to find a fit for him with the Packers considering of the crowded receiver room. You would think with a 4.37 speed, he could probably take over the Christian Watson burner aspect of the offense, but he can't seem to catch the contested balls and is a little bit questionable in that sense. Like Christian Watson, somehow when he got on, he was able to catch a lot of those contested balls out of nowhere and just went on a hot streak. I don't know if you can really get that out of him. Yes, he'll probably stretch his field with a 4.37, but considering he is reported to have kind of on his hand size, it's a little bit on the smaller side. Going to be a bit questionable once it starts turning a lot colder over there in Green Bay. But then where he could fit, depending on what Matt LaFleur is trying to use the receiver group and who we draft and who we potentially trade for if we trade for anyone or sign, is the slot. I feel like he's probably better in a number 2 receiver position, a second receiver, or definitely the slot, considering he's very quick. He's got that top end speed that can be hit and could help on seam routes. And he catches a lot of over the middle balls and can just find the open zone. So I feel like he's more suited for the slot at this current time. Could he develop into something better? Of course. But at this current time, if we're looking to now and what he can contribute to the Packers on offense, it would probably be in the slot position. And I just don't see that really being a necessity considering we have Jayden Reed. And once again, unless they think Jayden Reed can be the number 1 or number 2 kind of outside receiver, sure, maybe, but I feel like we can potentially find a better pick. And also, lastly, I was watching a video kind of digging into some information on Tai Felton, and shockingly, they just kind of cover all the NFL. They compared him if you were to combine 3 receivers from the Packers. Of course, they chose the Packers, weirdly enough. They said he has the speed of Christian Watson, the physicality and toughness of Romeo Doubs, but the hands of Dontavian Wicks. So I don't want another hands of Dontavian Wicks of last year. Hopefully Dontavian Wicks fixes his hands from last year and has that Devontae Adams little wide receiver character arc, but that remains to be seen for next season. But let me know what you think down in the comments. If you liked the video, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and as always, go Pack Go.